This is Matt Lesniewski, and you're listening to 11 O'Clock Comics.
It's like an assault on the senses.
It's crazy.
It's just, you hear that sound and you know that you're just going to experience some fairly mediocre, bordering on good comic book talk. Well, I don't want to toot my own.
Damn, that's harsh.
No, all right. I mean, we're good, but I don't want to say, yeah, we're the best it is. But, humble. You got to have a little bit of humility.
Act like you've been there before.
Well, we've been there. We've been there for a long time.
I just love you guys. It's been days since we talked last.
It has.
So long. So long.
Hello, people. This here is 11 O'Clock Comics, episode 893, the second part of Jason's test. He passed with flying colors last episode when he praised, for the most part, the Fall of X storyline. And now we're going to see if he'll pass my second test. And I'm Vince B.
Wow.
Intro for days. I am David A. Price.
It's true, and I am everyone's favorite freak. Phantom X.
You are a freak.
Yeah.
You would love to be Phantom X.
Oh, so much. He's so freaky, too.
Danger Diabolic, but still.
Exactly.
Yeah. The women in that movie, they're gorgeous. My goodness. That movie is a visual treat. But anyway.
Well, remember, there's a Phantom X splits and takes on a female form for a good chunk of Remender's run.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, very much a conceptual continuity. But you're not Phantom X. You're Jason Wood, everybody. And if you would like to get books featuring Phantom X, or at least as an additional character, all you got to do is go to cheapgraphicnovels.com. They got tons of Phantom X. cheapgraphicnovels.com. Have the trade paperbacks, the omnibus editions, the manga, the OGNs, all that stuff at far less than the cover price. Do a little comparison. Look at the price on Cheap Graphic Novels and go over to Amazon, check the price. I almost guarantee you that Cheap Graphic Novels will be significantly lower than Amazon because they're awesome. Shipping is amazing. Protect your books like if they were shipping their own things. They're just amazing. You're going to make an order. You're going to get an email confirmation. You're going to reply to that email confirmation saying, Max, my friend, I had no idea the grandeur, the glory of Cheap Graphic Novels if it wasn't for 11 O'Clock Comics. And he's going to say, well, you're pretty smart and I love you. He's going to wave the magic wand of savings, boink, tap your forehead, and you're going to get free shipping on your next order. So
damn right.
You save going in, you save coming out. cheapgraphicnovels.com.
Speaking of CGN, if everyone listened to our 11 O'Clockers, there was a CGN gift certificate given away to one of the persons, and it was Chris Chavez, and got a funny little DM yesterday from Chris when he listened to the episode and was like, holy shit.
He's a sweetheart.
Yeah, he was all excited. He was like, I'm gonna put it towards the Godzilla Omniboo. I can't wait. I'm like, all right, my man. I'm like, I'm gonna get you set up.
The pre-order for the Godzilla Omnibus is not live yet. The slug is there. You can see it, but you can't pre-order it yet. But please, people, for the love of kaiju, if you even you're on the fence about ordering it, order it, because chances are very good this thing's only going to get one printing. If Toho performs as they have in the past, I'm guessing this is only going to get one printing, and it's going to be gone, and you're going to be crying in your Cheerios.
But you'll be heart healthy.
You will, honey. I hope they're honey nut.
Oh, goodness.
All right, I have a drink. And, we said we aren't going to repeat ourselves, but I am drinking the same thing as last episode. From Half Acre Beer Company, I am drinking Tend. It is a winter India Pale Ale. It is delicious. And I've almost, at this point, little behind-the-scenes chicanery, I've almost had 3 16-ounces.
Ooh.
So I'm lucid.
A little pregame.
Yeah.
Well, I did switch it up because I'm not a heathen. Last week I was drinking, last episode I was drinking orange seltzer. And so, I did you better this time. I am drinking lemon lime G0 Players.
No, you're not a heathen at all. But you're cute, so we'll keep you around.
Well, since Vince already opened that door, I figured, what the hell? I went back to the well for some more Bardstown with a splash of soda.
Excellent. Nicely done. All right. I'm steeling myself for what I'm about to hear. Okay? I'm prepared.
Oh, okay.
I'm prepared. I hope my assumptions are not dashed on the rocks, because you could be a little cagey on the Slack. Like if I say, oh, you got to read this, and you'll say, I'm glad you liked it, meaning you don't want to tip the scales.
Oh, okay.
That you really enjoyed it, but you also don't want to, harsh marshmallow, and because so anyway. I read something.
I'm curious to see which one of us guesses right.
Yeah, I read something from Marvel that I think is the best or close to the best thing I've read out of that company in a long, long time.
And you're in love with Marvel these days, so.
Yes, this is called Avengers Twilight, Book 1. Written by an author I don't normally read, Chip Zdarsky.
Tap avoids like the plague.
Yeah, like I don't find fault with his work. He just doesn't seem to write things that I towards the stuff that I gravitate towards. But the thing that got me to read this is his collaborator, Daniel Acuna, who I absolutely adore. You go back in the archives, listen every time we mentioned Acuna, and I will slather this dude with praise, because I think in that top tier of Marvel illustrators, Acuna is like right up the top. He is a maestro. I love his work. Avengers Twilight Book 1.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going in saying, and okay, maybe I'm prone to hyperbole, but one of the things...
No, really?
Yes. One of the things we always say about the age-old Marvel versus DC battle is that DC has a lot of evergreen books. Dark Knight Returns, Watchmen, Batman Year One, etc. Right? Marvel, not so much. Like, I would be hard-pressed to even think of maybe 3 Marvel books that could be considered evergreen. And I went in on the Slack guns blazing. I said, if Zdarsky plays his cards right, if he sticks to landing, if he produces every issue of this thing on the same level as this first issue, I think Avengers Twilight could be a Marvel evergreen book.
Well, it's interesting that we're talking about this in the context of the Avengers, because first of all, I agree with you. And we've talked about this over the years. Like, it is weird for Marvel being as powerful and prolific as they've been. Like, they do not have those books where someone says to you, like, oh, I'm interested in learning a little about comics. What should I read? Right? Like generally speaking, I don't think people mention Marvel.
Well, it's because Marvel doesn't stop and start like DC has done.
For sure. Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. There are reasons for it.
Right. But there also hasn't been a Marvel spotlight book on a certain character other than Born Again. Born Again could be considered an evergreen book in my book.
Born Again is absolutely an evergreen.
Yes, but Marvel.
Well, there were some, I think some like the Miller Wolverine.
That's the Captain Marvel.
Yeah, definitely Captain Wolverine. I think there are a few, but again,
yes.
I mean,
but they are rare.
Right, but they don't have the tendency of DC to repeat the origin stories ad nauseum.
Right.
That's exactly. The thing.
Yeah. But what I was getting at, Vince, is it's interesting that you're bringing this up tonight in the context of Avengers, because for someone who, like myself, who holds out as a hardcore OG Avengers fan, I always find it interesting that when I look back on Avengers and someone will say, well, what's your favorite run? I mean, I have runs, obviously, but to me, if someone was to say to me, hey, I want to read an Avengers story, where should I start? I would say Avengers Forever.
Exactly.
And of modern stuff, the Avengers Rage of Ultron, which was the Remender Opeña book that was a separate, they turned it into a separate graphic novel and Because like to me, those are two of my favorite Avengers stories of all time, and they are self-contained, but clearly don't have anywhere near the public reputation that some of the DC books we mentioned do.
Right.
But it's just fascinating to me that you bringing up this Avengers book, because it's like, I think Avengers has had a few moments where they're standalone limited series or event books, whatever you want to call it, actually do stand the test of time in a way that a lot of the ongoing doesn't. Whereas I think for most of Marvel's other core characters, you can't say that.
Right.
Like maybe the Hulk with Planet Hulk, if you consider that, although that was still pretty long. Like I don't like it's hard to think of standalone stories that aren't necessarily in continuity that would be credibly at the top of like the list of most of the characters that Marvel like considers their best characters.
Yes. So let's set it up for the people. It's a future.
Well, don't you want to know what David and I thought? Well, I guess
no,
you know what David thought.
we'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay.
I like to keep myself in suspense.
Gotcha.
And the listener. It's a future storyline in which a devastating calamity had occurred and had since been called H-Day, where Ultron souped up a bunch of supervillains and somehow got control of the Hulk. And the fallout being that many, many lives were lost. And so it was one of those incidents that actually changed the status quo, where superheroes were very, very strictly controlled. They took away Steve's super soldier serum. He's just an ordinary old dude now. He's started to age. He's married. Tried a bid for a political office, and he's seen as a hero, but not by the majority. Like the legend is starting to fade out from the public consciousness. Tony and Jan had a son. His name's James. Instantly dislikable character. And
except Dad.
Yeah, he does take after his father. And the deal with this is it's all about the truth. It's about the malleability of the truth. Because Steve witnesses a news broadcast that tries to retcon the Red Skull's backstory in that, well, the Red Skull fought Hitler. He tried to eliminate Hitler. Therefore, he was a hero. He was a good guy. And Steve's like, wait a minute. Wait. The Red Skull didn't try to eliminate Hitler for the public's good. He tried to eliminate Hitler for his own good, so he could ascend to the top, role of the Nazi Party. So he wasn't altruistic at all. He was just trying to pave the way for himself. And Steve's getting all worked up, and he's going on these talk shows, and Jimmy baits him into a confrontation, and it doesn't look good behind the scenes. And it's like there's a governmental mandated curfew. Got to be off the streets at a certain time, or else. And there's shock troopers walking the streets, And Steve sees a bunch of kids skateboarding. It's really close to curfew time, and they come a little heavy-handed. They start coming down on these kids, and Steve intervenes and gets the shit kicked out of them. But Luke Cage has a band of freedom fighters fighting in the wings, called the Defenders, appropriately enough. And Luke is all old and busted too. And he saves Steve and has someone recreate the super soldier serum, which works. A bunch of test subjects unfortunately die, just like in the past. And so Steve is now reinvigorated to fight the status quo. And the reason why I think this is an evergreen book, or could be, is that it's not your standard hero versus villain. It's Captain America fighting for the ideals of what made America. He's fighting everything. It's not just a supervillain. The stakes are much higher. He's fighting to get back, to reclaim America for what it was. Free speech, the laundry list. And I think this book is freaking brilliant. I almost lost it. There are 2 incidents during the book that will break your heart. One you don't see, one you do. And I'm gonna spoil it so you people may check this out if this entices you. Matt Murdock runs a free law clinic, just to help out the people that are oppressed by this fascist government that's in place. And he's killed for his efforts. Matt Murdock is rubbed out, assassinated. That you don't see. What you do see is some of the fallout from H-Day, and you actually see Peter Parker die. And it is a rough scene to parse, man. It's like the Endgame scene in reverse, where you had Tony sacrificing himself for the greater good, and Peter watching. Like, this is almost the opposite of that. Visually, it looks very similar to that too. Peter's just slumped up against wreckage, and his mask is off, and all he can think about is Aunt May. And he's like, to Steve, he's like, please, save my Aunt, like, make sure my Aunt May's okay. Like, oh my God, it rips your soul out. But I cannot express, I'm going to try. I can't express how strongly this issue affected me. I think this issue almost attains that perfect status. I mean, it's a unattainable goal, obviously, but I think this issue was phenomenally good. It just lit a fire in me. When I finished that last page, I don't normally do this. I'm like, oh, well, that was really well done. Or that didn't click. There was a holy shit moment at the end of this where I'm just like, this is fantastic. I want this series to succeed, because it'd be cool if Marvel had a book that you can hand to someone interested. You can't give somebody a neophyte in the Avengers mythology, the Kree Skrull War. It's too long. There's too many characters in it that they don't know who are these characters. But this could be the book, and I love it, and I need to know what you guys thought.
Well, it sounds like you two had your little back channel talks and are taking different sides of where I fall on this.
I haven't said boo.
Oh, well, you said you were waiting to see if you were right or he was right.
But so from that, sure, but I have. Yeah,
I'm just curious. I'm curious which one of you where you each sat, but okay. But I loved it.
Oh, snap. I was wrong. I thought, because, see, I knew you were, there was part of me that thought he's just playing me. Because this, I'll be totally honest, this book is a barometer. If you can't walk away from this at least saying that it was well written and well illustrated. You don't have to love it. You don't have to think it's the greatest thing out of Marvel. But if you can't recognize the glaringly obvious quality of this book, then I think maybe your perceptions are a little bit wonky. That's all I'm saying. And I was hoping that both of you approached it, whether you liked it or not, at least admit to the fact that there's something very good going on here. You don't have to love it, but at least recognize the skill with which this book was created.
Oh yeah, I mean, the Acuna art is phenomenal. He's
so
well composed, and it's so different than what we see normally in a book, and it's just almost like professional pop art. Like the design aesthetic so like visually clean. I just love it.
He has to be digital.
Oh, for sure, yeah, no doubt. But I mean, but the coloring, like, and the wash over it. I mean, it is all digital effects, but it's just really well done. Very, very warm. Like, I think the art. This could be, if you took this story, if you took Zdarsky's story, and I'm not going to throw any specific artists under the bus, but if you just insert like reasonably active Marvel DC superhero artist who draws random superhero book, right? There's probably a list of 50 to come up with. If you had them draw this book, I probably would be like, eh.
Yeah, I'll say it.
Okay.
Hitch. If Hitch drew this, I wouldn't have loved it anywhere. I'm not throwing him under the bus, but
right.
he's achieved a level of complacency in his work where facial expressions, panel compositions, the way he approaches the solving of graphic solutions is very same series to series to series. And I
That's
don't.
why the Ultimate Invasion felt so flat.
Right, I don't see that in Acuna. He just seems to challenge himself all the time.
And even the character designs, right? Like making Luke Cage look all scraggly, almost like the Thing. He's got, his skin's all cracked and he's all, he's old, like just old and busted. And the thing that's really impressive to me about this is that I generally don't like old people stories. Like they annoy me, because old people are entitled as fuck.
Oh my god!
But they are. Hey, sorry, it is what it is. But in this case, it worked for me, man. I liked crotchety Luke. I liked crotchety Steve. It worked for me. I was like, okay, I get you. Let's do this. So yeah, but like this is like a 9 out of 10 for me. But it would have probably been like a 5 if it was just average superhero art. So Acuna is really the hero for me in this.
Yes, totally agree. But the story's damn good too.
It's really interesting. And again, I think the character work they do is really well done. I love the love interests. I mean, like that's cool. I just like the whole setup really.
Yeah, I'm. Now, you know what an echo is, right? Everyone knows what an echo is. It's not the original sound, but it's a diminishing version of the original sound that is in lesser potency, right? I think there are echoes of Dark Knight Returns in this. In the same fact that you had Bruce was old and busted when the story starts, and he finds a way to combat these injustices. The same thing with Steve. Steve is not Captain America in the majority of this book. He's old. He's feeling aches and pains. He doesn't have that serum coursing through his veins that gave him, elevated him above the average man and women. And then he's reinvigorated at the end to fight this oppressive, ruling body. And I also see a little bit of echoes, nowhere near the original potency, echoes of Watchmen in this thing too. You got this government that is just so oppressive, and people are feeling some kind of way because they're living in this society where they can't really do much, and they have to be off the streets at a certain time. And this huge calamity happened where everybody's living in fear. Like that's very much the zeitgeist of Watchmen. And then you have a bunch of old, cast off heroes that are trying to save the day. I think it's a formula, right? And it lives within these pages. Dap.
It's interesting you said both Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns, because I got a strong this could be Marvel's Kingdom Come.
Okay.
The art is absolutely why I kept reading. This is a beautiful book. The Spider-Man page was it hit me the same way.
It's our boy.
It did when the snap took Peter in Infinity War.
It's our boy.
And it wasn't necessary. He didn't have to do that, and he still fucking did. Whether it's we've talked about creators, specifically writers that none of us are really keen on. Not going to name anybody, but yes, except for, even though no matter how many times I've given him a try, except for those first couple of issues of Marvel 2-in-1, Chip hasn't done a damn thing that I've wanted to read. And he's extremely clever here. It is a well written, but everything you guys have said on point. No disagreements there at all. Any complaints, any nits to pick, purely personal, my opinion, don't affect the work at all. And it's still it's still that partly it's an indie book. I mean, yeah, there are different. There are times where we say it from time to time. I read comics to escape, and there's a lot of present day real world bullshit nonsense I'm reading on these pages. So that it didn't annoy me, but it definitely just made me feel some kind of way while I'm reading it, because I'm like, I was expecting, after Vince talked it up, after Hassan mentioned it on the Slack, I was willing to just go in and be like, I trust all my boys. Let's see where this goes. But there's still, I didn't necessarily, I did not love it. I'm definitely along for the ride. I want to see where we're going. I do, because it's comics and because we've all grown up feeling this way and we've seen it, so we know what we're talking about. I am not yet convinced Matt Murdock is dead. Luke says it, and so does someone else in the background on the Defenders, but we don't see a body.
Right.
And I don't see a news report. We just hear Luke, and I don't know if that's because he wants to do something. That's a motivation he feels that Steve needs. Like, he can't just give it to him the way the world is. He wants to give him that extra, and it's, yeah, we saw Matt this morning, he dead. And because even Steve's like,
right.
We just saw, that's a me thing. And if that's just a me thing, that's cool. If we find out next issue we're at his funeral, okay, whatever. But right now, just on this alone, I don't think Matt Murdock is dead.
Well, what kind of ass-backward sacrifice is that, where you kill Peter and you let Matt live? Like, no.
Well, for sure. But yes. But also, and this is because Edwin Jarvis's brother, who's the CEO, who's basically James's handler, or his valet, but they're obviously watching Steve. They know everything that's going on in Steve's life, because he tells him, Jarvis is like, listen, we may have to talk your boy down, which is why James shows up by surprise to Steve at the H-Day News special. So they are definitely watching Steve. So if they know that Steve met with Matt, maybe they kidnapped, maybe they staged. I don't know. I'm just speculating at that point. But as far as what's on these pages here, it's a cool story. I think, it's weird. Just like, the third Captain America movie was called Civil War, and it was an Avengers tale, even though this is called Avengers Twilight. As of right now, unless the next issue starts off with Iron Man going through his day. Okay, all right, and whether that's a flashback or if it's James wearing armor or something, because we do see, I know Vince spoiled something, but I don't want to spoil something else where we do see, Steve's not the only Avenger still kicking around,
right?
That we actually see on the page. So, although kicking may not be, that's a poor choice of words, but
You dick.
it's just all the accolades y'all are giving it is warranted. I definitely think people should check it out. The art is absolutely fantastic, and I know sometimes, depending on the characters or the story, like Freedom Fighters, I wasn't feeling that. I did not really like the look of that. So there are times where, like, when you could do things that I don't like how it looks on the page, but there's no denying his talent and how absolutely phenomenal they can do things to paper. But I absolutely I said, didn't love it, but I can respect it, and I absolutely agree with what you guys are saying content wise regarding Avengers Twilight.
I'm a big fan of the Steve Rogers Tony conflict, because I mean, the Civil War spoke to me, because I always felt that Tony and Steve would never be friends in the real world. Their beliefs are just too there's too wide of a chasm between their belief systems.
Which is what the movies got right. Yeah.
Right, the movies definitely got that right. And the fact that this will probably amount to Steve versus Tony Jr. or Jimmy, I think it's perfect. I think that rivalry is at the heart of the Marvel Universe, regardless of the fact that Tony and Steve have been in the Avengers forever. They don't see eye to eye. They can't see eye to eye. One's a filthy capitalist, and the other's, fighting for the American, no offense, Jason, and the other's fighting for, American ideals, which I guess is capitalism in a sense, but Steve is the fighter for the common man, the every dude, the men and women, the salt of the earth, blue collar, where I see Tony as definitely in the corporate arena with their interests and stuff. So I really don't think that they would be reluctant friends. And the fact that Junior is now the foil to Steve in this, I think is very perfect. And I also like Rosa a lot. I'm glad Steve's happy. He found someone. I don't know who she is. Is this anybody significant, or is this just a new character that was created for this?
I think she's new.
Yeah, I like her.
She's new, yeah.
I like her a lot.
Yeah.
She takes care of our boy. It's just so good. So give it a shot, people. Mm-hmm. Avengers Twilight.
So, before we move on, because this is I'm kind of fascinated by this, and we all have these certain creators, whether they be illustrators or writers, where it's just like saltpeter. We don't connect with them, right?
Right.
And obviously for Dap, like the reigning champ of that is Zdarsky, and even here, he was, he came out and said he didn't love the book, but and obviously that's mainly Zdarsky thing, I'm sure. So Dap, have you because you've read a lot of Zdarsky, or at least tried it, have you thought about what it is about his writing that turns you off? Is it the cheekiness? Is there something about the structure of the story, right? Because obviously then you juxtapose that against Tom King. Tom is a very, at this point, predictable structure. Right, he's the king of it, but it works for us generally. We usually come away from those stories thinking, damn, that's another really good one. So have you been able to pinpoint what it is about Zdarsky? Because the reason I ask is because I thought for a long time it was because you didn't find him funny, and I totally get that, because I say all the time humor is so much more subjective than dramatic work, and so I think it's infinitely harder to make a humorous thing as appealing, as broadly appealing as something that's more serious. But I wouldn't say this was a funny book. So it's more it's not that I always thought it was Zdarsky's humor didn't work with you, but that's not really what's going on here. So I'm just curious if you gave it any thought.
As I'm thinking about it while you're asking the question, I think we all know, we could pretty much, with the exception of maybe Alan Moore, very few, hardly any writers, I feel, at least the ones that I read regularly, or especially the ones that we've known over time, they have a voice, and you can kind of pretty much tell if it reads like a Marv Wolfman or a Chris Claremont or a Frank Miller or a Grant Morrison or Warren Ellis book. And I think I am just not a fan of Chip's voice. I kind of hear it, and it's not like we've ever interacted with him. I mean, we've only heard from his peers who all claim he is a great and funny dude, and that's great. Your friends should pimp you and back you up, but I just the Zdarsky books I've tried, there's just something that, whether it was the Daredevil book, whether and it was present in Marvel 2-in-1, but it was fitting there. There's not like you said, this isn't a funny book at all, but it's the way I think it's the real world aspects of this story that and again, that's a me thing where I maybe just might be in the mood for it. But the way the characters talk, and not to say that an older Steve definitely couldn't. This definitely feels like an older version of the Captain America, that whether it was Grunwald or Carlin or Remender, that any version that they wrote, this sounds like an older version of that. Jimmy is meant to be a dick, so he comes off like a dick. That's fine. Luke is old and crotchety, and that's sort of a departure from current Luke. But again, I can understand an old bitter black dude. That absolutely makes sense, and I get that, especially with what he's dealing with what his powers left him, how they left him. I just, yeah, I think I just can if it. I don't know if somebody had me read, like if he wrote a backup for the Sex Criminals or whatever that book was, like, and they just, if I didn't know where it came from, they just asked me to read it. I'm not claiming that I would be able to say that, okay, well, I didn't like this, must have been a Chip book, but it's I just really, and anything he's kind of done, there's just something that I just don't connect with.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, but I just, to me, the lack of the humor in this made me think, it's not what, like, there's something more to it than just, like, you don't think he's funny. So, and I will say, I don't think Chip is funny either. His humor books, I don't work for me at all. I like anyone he's ever done, it's not my thing. But I have to say the superhero mainstream stuff that he's done, I've generally liked. I can't say I've loved any of it. Like, as you may remember, I kind of read like almost the entirety of his Daredevil run after wrapping up.
Daredevil, yeah.
And I really loved the first 2 or 3 arcs. I mean, I don't remember exactly how, but I really thought it was like awesome. I'm like, damn, this is great. And then I thought it got progressively less interesting. I haven't touched.
And that was one I absolutely wanted to love because of Marco Cicchetto. But yeah,
right.
You were saying.
No, I was saying I haven't touched his Batman, so I can't speak to that.
Yeah.
But so I think for me, it's I don't find him funny. So if he's not doing funny stuff, like in this case with this book too, it worked for me. But for you, it's deeper. It cuts deeper.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't have much of a history with Zdarsky, just because he's written things that I don't want to read. Like I wouldn't.
Like Daredevil.
No, I wouldn't touch Howard the Duck.
Oh yeah,
written by 98.
I assumed I wouldn't like it because it's funny, right? Yeah.
No, like 98% of all of the authors in existence could write Howard the Duck, and I wouldn't read it only because it's not Gerber, right?
Yeah.
I didn't read Daredevil because I've read all of the great Daredevil stories. I don't need to read anymore. And Batman,
I feel that like I feel bad because Cooter's our boy, but like I just can't. I gave it a try. I'm like it's and it's not that it's bad per se. It's just like kind of you're saying, like we've read perfect Daredevil comics.
Right,
them, so.
Right, and the train has very much left the station a long time ago on Batman, so I'm not going to read that. But you guys don't read Spawn.
No.
Or anything written by Todd McFarlane. This is like Alan Moore compared to Spawn.
Sure.
Like Zdarsky can formulate a complete, beautifully constructed sentence, punctuated and everything. Like so,
I actually like.
I know it's a low bar, but
yeah, I know he's not drawing really anything these days, but I really do like his cartooning. I like his illustration work. I think he's a good artist actually, but. It doesn't do much of that these days.
But this came out of nowhere and it just exploded in my brain. And Dap, mentioned hardcover. I need a hardcover of this.
Yeah, I think they'll. Well,
I hope.
Never. I don't know. It's different. It's a different time, so I don't know how for them to prioritizing hardcover.
I think this book's going to be in print for a long time.
And if if this comes out in a nice hardcover, if the story maintains or elevates from here, you know what? It's obviously I got to credit Chip for that. He's the one telling the story as beautiful as Aguina's making it look. I'd get a hardcover of it if just based on the first issue. Yes, so credit to Chip there. He wrote a story that I want to see continue. But yeah, it's so I really want to see where we're going with it.
Yeah, the dialogue is totally believable. It feels like older versions of the characters we all know. The plot is amazing. It's a classic tale of one man versus the system. Like, what's not to love? So bring it on. Bring it on. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm so relieved.
Vince. While we're talking Marvel, I got something I want to mention to you real quick.
Okay.
Well, last episode we talked about the fact that I had read an absolute grip of X books for the first time in like 6 months.
A grip, yes.
And you had then asked me toward the end of the conversation, what did you think of the X-Force? Because I've been waiting for you to read that. And I told you at the time I hadn't read it yet because it was next up. Well, my friend, because I love you again, I read X-Force 44, 45, 46, 47, 48.
Oh my
Was the wife away this weekend? What the hell?
Listen, I was inspired to read X-Books. What can I tell you?
That's awesome.
So,
so you did read X-Force 48.
yes.
All right. I'm a little nervous.
Oh, boy.
I'm a little nervous that
Right.
the solution to the beast problem could be as simple as cloning and eliminating the bad beast and having this new, oh my stars and garters, he's horrible, because Sage retained one of the beast clones.
Yes.
And sends him out to eradicate the bad beast. And I'm real. My fingers are crossed that Percy doesn't have the quote good clone eliminate the bad original beast, and now this clone is the beast in the Marvel universe.
Right.
That's too easy of a solution.
Sure. Well, I'm going to be a hypocrite tonight and tell you that I pray that's what's about to happen. Because I want my Hank back.
Right.
Give it
Yeah.
back to me, baby.
I know.
In fact, this book, the majority of the last year or two have been drawn by Robert Gill. I actually, I know I was on hiatus in 2023, but prior to 2023, I'd actually bought a bunch of Gill X-Force pages. In part because the book features, obviously, my girl and my boy, Domino and Beast. But, when you told me for the last few months, hey, are you caught up on X-Force and the Beast stuff, I was thinking this was going to be like take two of what we got in the Wolverine story, which was Beast versus Wolverine. And I thought, oh man, how long is it's, this is like, it reminded me of that. It's like, when a wrestling feud like goes on for like 5 matches and you're like, all right, dude, like let's have the payoff and move on to the next story. Right?
Uh-huh.
So Vince, you threw me for a loop because that's not what's going on here, right? It's
No,
kind of
not
like
in this book.
It's the mirror image of it, right?
Yes.
Which is like, we need to go and get Beast and settle things, but it's not focused on him. But listen, you give me, like we got in issue 48, Stars and Garters Beast drawn that way. I mean, that is the, when I get Beast commissions, that's the character model I want to see. And we get that after all these years of fat evil Beast. Oh, I was in heaven. Now, that said, I totally think your point, because it would be so easy and such a MacGuffin to just have, I don't know, Wolverine or somebody kill Evil Beast and then this Beast step in. I understand that would be like the ultimate kind of like Deus Ex Machina. So I doubt that's actually what's going to happen. But for a minute after reading this issue and putting it down, I was tinged with glee at the idea that we would get that outcome, because I would love nothing more to have good old smart Hank McCoy who wants to actually help the world and save humanity and mutants together. I would love for that to be back.
But Sage goes through a list of atrocities committed by the
Which
Beast
was awesome.
in this issue.
Because she's a human computer, and of course she would better rattle them all off in perfect chronological order, which
right.
I loved.
And so if the good clone eliminates the bad Beast, then there's not really any kind of atonement for all of those misdeeds.
Can I make a prediction? And clearly this can't be a spoiler because the issues haven't hit print yet, so I could be way off. But I think the solution is going to be a little more elegant than you're worried about. I think it's going to be like a situation where good clone Beast, who obviously is very distraught because he's subsequently read. We should be clear here. The clone was basically mindless because, until the recent events of Fall of X, the mutants could imbue their consciousness in new bodies, and they have they basically revert to a former version of Beast, and they install his mind, his memories, only up to a point when they all remember him as still being noble. And so then he has to, he sits down at the computer and he reads all the years of atrocities that he goes on to do, and he gets very verklempt in himself, right? I think what's going to happen is I think they're going to track down Evil Beast, have a big melee, right? Like a battle to the end type of thing. And Good Beast is going to sacrifice himself to take out Bad Beast, and explain that while he is who he is, he knows that basically he's going to, no matter what, he's going to turn into Bad Beast over at some, if he lives. So he doesn't want to live either.
All right, that's a much better solution.
Well, there you go. So if it doesn't go that way, maybe I'll send this pitch to Marvel and be like, see what I could be doing for Orchard Books.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah. I think Hank should really have some kind of atonement for all the things he's done.
Yeah, I mean, listen, real talk. I mean, and again, these are characters, and like you guys were saying earlier, like, just it is what it is. Just like, you can like it or you can't like it. Let other people have their version. I totally believe all that, but like that said, on a very selfish level, like I don't like the direction they've taken Beast, and it's been perfectly natural. They've been building this for 25 years, right?
Well,
like,
it's the taint of Age of Apocalypse. Right,
exactly. It is not in any way out of left field. It's actually a pretty well-developed and long-developing character evolution. So, like, I can't even argue that it's the wrong approach. But I just love the freewheeling, happy, Avengers Beast. Like, that's my dude. And so, if I can get him back, I'll selfishly love it, but I would get it if people thought it was weak sauce.
I think I'm okay with this deviation from what I said last episode regarding previous versions of characters, because as an outsider looking in on X-Force and what's going on with Dark Beast, I was never under the impression that Hank was gone, whereas with Kyle was absolutely replacing Hal, and Wally replaced Barry, and I mean there were absolute definitive ends for the previous versions so that the new could take over. I get why you'd feel that way about wanting happy-go-lucky, all my stars and garters Hank back, but I never, because he's still right there within reach from what I could see. I don't know if that's true or not because I'm not reading the stories, but I think your feelings on it are valid.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, again, like I don't like. It's not a hill I'm going to die on, and I have to say, as much as I complain that this isn't the Beast I like, and until we got to the point where he was literally the villain of Wolverine for a year, I was fine with him being like pulling shenanigans, because it was like, okay, like he was kind of machinating in the background, and I was like, all right, it is what it is. It's more of a third arc or a third plot line than. But yeah, no, but point being, X-Force is still very good. Ben Percy, I know you gave him love on the classic version. I think he's a very good writer.
Yes.
And I feel like I've read a lot of his work now, and at least as we're riffing here, I don't have a list of all the stuff he's done, but I don't remember any of his runs being like, I could take her to leave it. I think he's real good. He's a very solid, I'll say at least superhero writer. I don't know that I've read any of his. If he's done, I don't know if he's done non-superhero stuff of any significance yet, but yeah, I definitely think he's someone I will tend to like. I'll try his books now, just like regardless of what I may think of the solicit, just to see what's up.
Nice, excellent. I'm glad you enjoyed them.
What is going on? Back-to-back weeks of Marvel love.
I know. We should just call it the Marvel minutes.
Bullpen Bulletin.
Get it over with. Well, I have a hallelujah. A hallelujah, Jason. We got another issue of Savage Dragon out of Eric Larson.
What's that? The first one in 17 months?
It's been a while. It hasn't been that long.
Shouldn't it just be an annual at this point? Like,
cut him a break. In the letters pages, he said something about extenuating circumstances preventing him from getting an issue out, and whatever. I mean,
listen, as consistent as he is, he's the only founder writing and drawing his original book from way back when. I'm more than happy to cut him some slack in the back out. Whatever he has to say.
Unlike McFarlane, Mr. Larson can craft a believable, interesting narrative with, gosh darn it, real sentences. Mm-hmm. And the thing about Eric Larson is he's beholden to no one.
Mm-hmm. True that.
Whatever he wants to do with his characters, he'll do it. I'm convinced that Eric produces Savage Dragon for no one but himself. And
awesome.
And that's the way it should be. right?
Right.
That's the way it should be done. So this last week, Savage Dragon 267 came out.
Oof.
It's a triple size 30th anniversary special. But the entire issue is not curated. Well, I shouldn't say that. The entire issue is everything after the main story is we get a bunch of the old Megaton stuff that Eric Larson did with Gary Carlson. Mm-hmm. And so you got Vanguard versus Mighty Man, the Bobby Berman version. You got Vanguard versus Dragon, the short, thin Paul version, which is in keeping with the narrative because Paul is a character in the main story. But for the most part, this issue is a celebration. It is the wedding of Angel Murphy and Frank Darling Jr. Now, do you guys know who these characters are? I mean, you haven't read it. You haven't read Savage Dragon on an extended basis. So chances are you don't know who these characters are. Remember when, way back when the police officer found Savage Dragon naked in the burning field? Well, that was Lieutenant
Frank Morgan.
That was Frank
right.
Frank Darling.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Frank Darling Jr.'s father who found him. Mm-hmm. And Angel is the daughter of Jennifer Murphy, who at one time was the wife of Dragon. Not Paul, not Malcolm, but the Savage Dragon that started the series, that was originally Emperor Kerr,
Right.
who was a mean son of a bitch, and just because of his calamity at the beginning of the series he didn't know who he was, so he assumed the role of a good guy. And Angel Murphy was Jennifer's daughter, so he was Dragon's adopted daughter. And a good chunk of the opening story, you get a lot of the backstory. You have Angel and Malcolm and Dragon fighting for Frank Darling Jr.'s life, and it's littered with trademark Larson ass shots, nipple slips. I mean, Larson loves the cheesecake and the peekaboo. At one point in the narrative, when Dragon sacrificed himself, Angel and Malcolm had to live with the Darlings, and that's where the relationship started between Angel and Malcolm. And then, it's mostly flashbacks where Frank Jr. got Tierra pregnant, and then it's the sexual escapades between Maxine and Angel and Malcolm, and then Tierra joins, and there are pages in this issue, and I won't spoil it because I think someone should experience this for themselves. There are sexy time pages in this issue that will curl your toes.
I'm on it now. I'm thinking I'm going to be jumping on this right here.
Larson does not pull any punches. And when Maxine
last time I read Savage Dragon, which was probably when Savage Dragon's wife just tore him up. Sexual fiend.
Oh, you're talking about Maxine and Malcolm.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, in this issue, now Angel's in her bridal gown, and when Maxine wants some, Maxine will get some. That's all I'm going to say. Mm-hmm. But the thing I really want to talk about is there's a twist ending to this wedding. That as I was going through all these flashbacks of the Frank Darling, Angel Murphy interactions, there was an extended sequence that was conspicuously absent from Larson's recollection of the interactions of these characters, and I didn't notice it. He's really slick, really sly. I didn't notice it until the very last page of this wedding story, where Larson goes back at least 100 issues, probably more, and pulls an event from the past into the future that transforms everything about the wedding, everything about the book, He just he takes something he's done probably a decade ago and just turns the reader. I mean, you have to be a longtime reader of Savage Dragon to get this. If you've only, dabbled and maybe read an issue of Savage Dragon here or there, the ending is not going to mean a damn thing to you. But if you're a regular reader and you've stuck with the book and you know the history of these characters, the last page, I was like, Eric, you are a son of a bitch. I didn't see it coming. I don't want to say any more because there's a lot of people that read this book and I don't want to spoil it for them. Well, not a lot of people, but there are diehards in our Slack that read this book, and it's just amazing. He is a maestro. And if Larson just keeps making this book for himself, I'll keep reading it because I love it. I think he's one of the best dudes out there making comics. Nobody makes comics like Eric Larson. And we've said it a million times. I've been a fan forever. And the fact that he just keeps plugging away at this just does my soul good.
Love it.
It's a filthy issue, though. It's really...
I'm intrigued.
There's a lot of nudity.
What number? Which one?
267. It's 100 pages. Cover price $10.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Lots and lots of nudity.
You had me at
I don't know what
titties.
that.
Angel and Frank get busy at the wedding with the all those in attendance watching them.
Oh, right. There we go.
Yeah, you got to read it.
That's my kind of fun.
It's a lot of fun. And one of the recent comments about our podcast was somebody took probably me to task to say that the misogyny is top level on this show when we comment on artists drawing, beautiful women, but this is Eric doing what he wants to do with his characters. Is it misogynistic? I don't know. All art is objectivism, right? You mean when they you'll say an artist objectifies women, right? When you sit down in a figure drawing environment and you have a nude model in front of you, whether male or female, there's a point where that model stops being a human being and turns into an object. No different than a bowl of fruit or a landscape. Because when you draw, you're looking not at the fact that it's a human being. You're looking at the fact the interplay between sections of the body, how they interact and how muscles expand and contract based on the position of certain body parts or whatever. So it stops becoming a human being and becomes an object. So to say that artists and us objectify women, all art is objectivism. Everything's an object. You're not.
All, let me be clear, because I didn't read the review, but in question. But I would push back intensely hard, even with your own, like you're making a case for where you may or may not have said something. A misogynist, by definition, and the definition is a person who dislikes, despises, or is strongly prejudiced against women.
Yeah, that's not.
There is not a single iota of us or this show that is misogynistic.
No.
Now, do we unapologetically, because we're three heterosexual white dudes who love the female form, do we sometimes get puerile about stuff and maybe a little aloof and overly sophomoric in our adoration for women and how beautiful they are? Of course, absolutely. So I would say if the review said that we're childish about it, or maybe boorish, maybe occasionally, but misogynistic, that's absolutely that's a dude searching for a big worded insult that doesn't fit what he's actually trying to say, or what actually at least is a fair criticism.
True, but I mean, from my point of view, a beautiful drawing can be of an unclothed woman or Tom of Finland. I don't care.
Sure.
Whether it's male or female. A beautiful drawing is a beautiful drawing.
Sure.
If it's your part and parcel to draw these dudes with these thick sausages and
But I think
it could be beautiful. But what I'm saying is there's a point in the drawing process, and it's right at the outset where you're not seeing the subject as a human being. You're seeing it as an object. And all art is abstraction. You're just putting together lines in the form of a human being, but it's not a human being. It's an abstraction of a human being. So for someone to criticize us for lusting over beautifully constructed line work in the shape of a human being, that's not a human being, and call it misogynistic, that's crazy to me.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think it's just a poor. Like, I don't mind the criticism. Like, if he had said we were objectifying women, I would be like, yeah, that's fair. We do. Like, we certainly, like, we definitely don't like go out of our way. That we have certainly been guilty of that. If in as much as one should feel guilty about it in the context that we may have. You get my point.
I don't want to hurt feelings, but yeah, I love beautiful drawings.
That's what I'm saying. Like, but yes. So I think objectification is certainly a fair criticism on occasion, but the misogyny is silly.
I think there's a difference between if Eric Larson is drawing these sexually active couples doing sexually active things
by consent
in his book, right? But that's he's deliberately presenting it that way. It's designed to elicit a certain reaction. That's different than someone oogling an Adam Hughes drawn Wonder Woman book where she's taking down a bank robber. So that's Eric is doing what you're reading Savage Dragon, and I'm going to say the right way because that's what it's supposed to do. Yeah. You'd be if you were like thinking about like anything that an Alan Davis drawn.
That's my go-to.
Megan.
Yeah.
And you're like, and you're like, holy crap. Like, then that's, and all of a sudden you're like, I need a minute and we're waiting on you. That's different than reading Eric's.
But I don't think that's so different because again, it's not.
No, but if you were describing an Excalibur comic the way you were describing Savage Dragon, I could understand some criticism on the breakdown there.
Okay, to get back to Adam Hughes, the goal of an Adam Hughes drawing is to titillate. That's what he's doing. He's not.
You give Adam Hughes a certain character to draw, then yes,
and like Frank Cho does it a lot. There's a lot of artists. Alan Davis does it. They draw beautifully, visually attractive women that play into the public's or the male public's ideal of what is a quote perfect woman. You look at Adam Hughes's drawings; they're all buxom. They got the hips going on. Mm-hmm. So his stock in trade is titillation. So for a person to need a minute with an Adam Hughes drawing, that tells me that guy's a successful artist.
That's understandable,
right?
But it's how it's described. I'm saying it's how you feel or how you want to explain how you're feeling or describing. If you're reviewing that comic and you're using the same type of language with the same excitement as you do as if you're reading a Penthouse Forum letter, that's where I'm saying this is that's where I could see people saying it's a Wonder Woman comic where she was just, taken down.
Oh, and they're looking at her ass.
Right.
But then again,
that's what focused on.
Right. If the ass is the focal point of the panel, then it was by intent to make you feel that.
Right. Yes, we're reviewing that correctly.
Right.
No, I'm with you there.
Right.
I'm just saying how it's the way we review a story and how we talk about it that way.
I mean, there's a battle in the beginning of this issue where Angel goes into battle with a skirt. A short skirt.
She doesn't end the battle with a skirt. I'm sure.
No, exactly. So, and she's punching, and Larson's viewpoint is straight up her dress. But that's what he wants to do, and
that's what I would expect.
These are his characters. So, yes. Is Larson objectifying women? No, he's titillating. I mean, Angel, again, they're just lines on paper.
Debate. I would push back and say I do think he is objectifying women, but I don't think he's doing it like with any malice of intent. And I think that, as you alluded to at the beginning of this, objectification is a very common component of most well, not of most, but of a lot of things that we consume. It's why when you watch a TV show, most of the actors and actresses are very, very handsome and
exactly.
And again, I'm not like. Let me be clear. Do I think that someone could hop on a random episode of our show over the years and be like, "Oh, cringe"? Sure. I mean, we are honest. We are who we are.
Those have all been taken down.
Well, unintentionally cringe. Yeah, I mean, like we are who we are. We're we like anytime you are putting yourself out there, you know, it's gonna, if for as many hours as we have for it, there's gonna be times when something we say or do is gonna seem, you know, maybe off-putting to some. Like that's, and again, like it's never intentional. But I will say that, like for me, like I always, you guys have heard me say this before, I always try and tell people that, like, you know, privilege, the term privilege, right? It shouldn't be a pejorative. Like we've turned the idea of saying that someone has privilege into being like you're insulting them. And that's really not at all what it should be, because it kind of totally escapes the point of when you discuss privilege and getting people to understand what you mean by it. And I think the same is true for what we're talking about here, like with objectification. Like I guess, and you know, maybe people are going to hear me say this and think it's blasphemy. I don't think objectifying beautiful things you find beautiful is necessarily wrong if you own up to it. Like there's a reason why Instagram has got 87,000 beautiful women making very good livings by putting cute dances and bikinis on it, like, because it works. There's a reason why there are who knows how many people on OnlyFans getting, you know, making very good livings by producing content to turn other people on sexually. Like, I don't like. To me, the idea of like objectification as a purely evil, like one should never objectify, makes no sense to me, because it's like that's puritanical bullshit. Like we're sexual creatures. Like I find things appealing and titillating, like, and I don't hide from it. So I guess it's like I do view, and that's why I think the term misogynistic is just so wrong, because it's a totally different thing. Right, like that's a totally different thing, and I would defend being called misogynistic vigorously. But if you want to say I objectify women, yeah, I do. I'm prone to it. I own it. Fine. So say we all. Yeah.
Now, I've been keeping an eye on this, just to keep it on topic. This Emma Stone movie that she recently did, the one that Poor Things, yeah. And I have read an equal number of reviews that praise her performance in this movie, and also an equal number that cite, yeah, you get to see Emma Stone naked.
Right.
You know, and so it's like the public is, I think the common person is, our society is puerile, right? The fact that Emma Stone was nude in this movie shouldn't be a factor in any kind of critique. Right? But yet it is. So I think culturally we're attuned to the unsavory stuff, right? We like to see nudity. Like, look at the furor of this Taylor Swift stuff. These AI deep fake Taylor Swift football pictures are getting. They're not real. And yet people are losing their shit over them, because it depicts.
Okay. I mean, I view that as a little different. I think because you are creating imagery of someone that's real and doing things that they're not doing or choosing to do. Like, I think every person, man, woman, or no, I'm
being serious. Yeah.
Like, I think man, woman, or you know, any human being should have the right to both fight against and be upset their body being portrayed in a way that they don't choose to do it. Again,
sure, like, but proportionally, it doesn't look like Taylor Swift. Like, her body's not like
what
that.
I'm saying is, if Taylor Swift, I mean, look, Kim Kardashian is one of the most famous, wealthy women in the world. She obviously but a huge reason all that started was because she made a sex tape, right? Like, yeah, and she doesn't hide from it, right?
Such as it is.
Pam Anderson doesn't hide from her sex tape with Tommy Lee.
No.
If Taylor Swift chose to make a sex tape, hey, like, you live your best life. But I think it's a little different when, like, deep faking and stuff. I think that's different, because anything you're taking.
I'm sticking to the realm of imagery, right? They're not real.
I guess what I'm saying is, like,
they're exaggerated.
I would understand being offended by a deep fake of someone that's like of them being like, I think that's okay to be offended.
Well, you've
by.
seen the videos, right? There are videos out there where you cannot tell that it's not the real deal. The technology has ascended to the level of it's seamless. Like they can slap a face on anybody and make you think that it's a real, which is really scary.
Okay.
But again,
so being used for fraud. It's already being used for blackmail and fraud.
Right. And these things are part and parcel of like it's in the public consciousness. They haven't accepted it, but they haven't decried it unless you're a Taylor Swift fan, to the point where it's just like, oh, this technology must be stopped. People love the salacious stuff.
Sure.
I don't know where this is going. I've lost track of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Taylor Swift thing took us aside, but like I would say again, it's just about the idea of like of the intent of something. Like Jennifer Lawrence, who is one of the highest paid, most bankable female actors in the world, chose to be full frontal nude in No Hard Feelings.
Yes,
right, the comedy she did last year. Now, a lot of people were baffled by that, but she was like, it just was right for the movie. It made sense. Yep. And she's clearly a woman who's very confident in her body and her own image, and like she owned it. And it was a funny scene.
It's a good scene. It really is.
I didn't think the movie was very good at all. But 20 years from now, if I don't have Alzheimer's, the thing I'll remember about that movie was the nude scene. But it wasn't an overly sexual nude scene at all. I mean, she was fully nude, but like she was beating somebody up, like fighting for, like it wasn't. But like that's a bold move. But she made that choice. Like no one is hiding from the fact that that's an allure of that movie. Like she knew when she was smart enough to know, like, oh my God, like everyone's going to want to see the scene where I get naked in a movie. Like she understood that. It wasn't like some director talked her, her into doing that, like thinking like, oh, like she held all the cards there. It was her decision. Right. And so like, why shouldn't I find that? Like, aren't I? Like, I think I'm supposed to find that.
Right, exactly, is what I'm saying. Right, it was a conscious decision by her to make that a reality. Just like Eric Larson, it was a conscious decision on his part to portray his characters as sexually active organisms.
Yep.
So I'm all for it. I did. See what I did there? So yeah, Savage Dragon 267. It is great. Eric, please keep doing more of these.
Well, he don't keep doing it.
We should have him back.
Yeah, if he remembers this.
It's been a long time. I'm sure he remembers us. Come on. Yeah. All right. Well, sorry about this. We've kind of overstayed our welcome. We were supposed to keep it to an hour, and we didn't. But you know where to go, where the prices are super low. And that is where? Tell them.
CheapGraphicNovels.com.
Exactly. CheapGraphicNovels.com have the trade paperbacks, the manga, the OGNs, the omnibus editions. Everybody loves the omnibus editions, and rightly so. And you can get them for far less than their cover prices at CheapGraphicNovels.com. Order, email, reply. 11 o'clock comics sent us free shipping on your next order. It's crazy. Check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/11 o'clock comics. $5 gets you a bonus episode that no one else gets to hear. $10 gets you the bonus episode and access to the Slack. It's amazing. Friends for life. That's not a hard sell. In your travels. This is a book that came out this week. It was a big deal at New York Comic Con this year. I don't know if either of you paid attention. But there's a conglomerate at Image now under the Ghost Machine banner.
Bro, that was mine in your travels as well.
Nice. Maybe you could talk about it a little bit. This is Ghost Machine #1. When you hear the list of creators on this thing, you're going to be like, what? Jason Fabak, Gary Frank, Brian Hitch, Jeff Johns, Lamont McGee, Francis Manipool, Brad Meltzer, Yvonne Hayes. Did I do that right?
Yes.
Peter Snaberg, Peter J. Thomas, Maytal Schutt, Brad Anderson, and Rob Lee. What? I was going through this thing like, okay, it's an anthology. And I knew going in that this was a teaser book, meaning that whatever price I paid for it, I would probably be buying these works again for whatever series caught my attention. Like, I'm sure that these pages will appear somewhere else, whether in the first issue of these ongoing series or in a collection of some sort. So I knew that. I was fully aware of that. And it's a 8-page book for $5. Cardstock cover. You can't beat it. But there are a number of umbrellas in this Ghost Machine. One is called The Unnamed. And you get characters like Geiger, Redcoat, and Junkyard Joe, right? All of which are written by Jeff Johns. Geiger's drawn by Gary Frank. Kill me now, because the work is just gorgeous. The Geiger chapter or snippet really intrigued me. I hadn't read the previous Geiger series, but he's a man that has been inundated by radiation, and a Russian scientist crafted him a suit that has boron rods in the like the backpack type thing. So he's human-ish until he removes those boron rods. Then he becomes this skull-faced radioactive man character, and he just wants to be cured. He wants to be alleviated of this problem. The Hitch, Redcoat, I'm gonna skip that. No offense, but it didn't do anything for me. Then you get another, and there's Ohatmu pages in this issue.
Ohatmu pages.
Yes. Yeah. Then the thing that I was really intrigued by was this Rook.
Yes.
Fabak.
Like Mobile Armored Strike Command meets the zoo.
Yes. I don't think Fabak's ever looked this good. I mean, I like his work a lot, but this is next level stuff. The title character, Rook, was a farmer on Earth, was taken to a planet where he was given a new chance. Planet's called Exodus. The thing was terraformed. He was like, set there, okay, do your thing. But unfortunately, the planet's in turmoil, and he needs to find a way out. But he's a warden. What's a warden? Well, warden are these characters that wear these masks where they can command a certain species of animal. Like Rook can command crows and rooks. There's a character in here that can command boars and wild pigs. There's a dire wolf character that obviously can command wolves. It's very intriguing. The art is absolutely spectacular. I'm in on Rook. Okay. Then there's another banner called Family Odysseys with a series called The Rocket Fellers. Yeah, okay. But it's Francis Manapul, and it looks amazing.
It does.
I don't know if I'm going to buy the series, but I enjoyed this little snippet. It's a family from the future that goes to the past to prevent the stuff that's bad in the future from ever happening. And they have to kind of like blend in the present. Then there's a series called what is it? Halo?
Hornsby and Halo.
Hornsby and Halo. Yeah. Snapeberg looks real good here. A little bit Jaime Hernandez in some spots. But this one didn't do too much for me.
Samesies.
Yeah, so I'm going to skip that. But the one
that's definitely geared towards younger readers.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, bring it on.
What I'm saying.
Bring it on.
Not, yeah.
But the thing that really, the takeaway from this issue is I got to get this Hyde Street book.
Just gotta wait till October.
Gotta get it, because it starts off with a double-page spread that's a pastiche of the Johnson Smith Company mixed with maybe like the kind of ads you'd see in the Atlas comics from the Bronze Age. There's a man with X-ray glasses. There's a pastiche of sea monkeys called Piranha People. But the one that really set me on fire was the takeoff on Jack Davis's door-sized Frankenstein monster poster, where it's just called The Monster. And all of these characters factor in. I guess Hyde Street is a street that appears in a number of realities, and nothing good comes of it. But there's one panel that Yvonne Hayes did that is absolutely spectacular. It's just a conglomerate of monsters, and it is absolutely jaw-dropping. Did you guys feel that way?
It looked very. I mean, I thought the whole thing. His visuals look great.
It's stunning. Yeah, I mean, if you showed these pages to anyone, you'd be like, "Holy hell! Look at this art." I mean, it's typical, not typical, but the setup is. I predicted it. Like, there's a movie producer in a small town, and he's an asshole, and he kind of, snubs his nose at a little Boy Scout who has a dog whistle, and the kid blows the dog whistle, and the dog ends up causing the death of the movie mogul violently by truck. I thought this was worth every penny. I got the Dire Wolf cover. There's like 10 or 11 different covers. It's crazy. But it was totally a surprise. I didn't pay, I'll be honest, I did not pay attention to it at New York Comic Con. Maybe I should have. But the lineup is stellar. The books, more or less, are all intriguing. For some more than others, obviously. But all of these storylines are not going to appeal to everyone. They weren't designed to do that. But for my money, I'm in, like Flynn, on Rook and Hyde Street, and probably Geiger.
Co-sign on your views. Rook was definitely the one that appealed to me the most. Hyde Street, the visuals looked really great, so I'm in on that for sure. Like Dap said, though, it's going to be almost end of the year before that comes out. But it's full disclosure. I did read the first 2 issues of the first Geiger series, and it did nothing for me. But absolutely, I consider myself a Jeff Johns fan. I mean, the vast majority of stuff I've read by him over the years, I've enjoyed. So to me, it's just that particular story just doesn't appeal to me per se. But yeah, I'm definitely excited by all these new imprints. Image is already our favorite publisher per the old Kloskers, and I love that we're getting these. It's almost like we're going back to the old days where you had each of the founders with their own imprint,
right?
And it was going to be this great stuff. And obviously, we don't have to rechronicle the way the '90s went out. But I think with the people in charge of these new imprints, I think we're going to get a lot of very high quality stuff, and it's going to come out on time because obviously Remender's got his new line. I know Miller's leaving. I think Image, right? Or isn't he? I don't. But maybe
going to Dark Horse. I think right?
He is, right. Yeah, I think so. He's leaving, but I think people like Johns and Remender are, and Matt Kint he's a similar thing at Dark Horse now. Like, I love the idea of these guys getting their own imprints to stretch their creative muscles and bring in other creators that they have, think have the same kind of vibe and aesthetic. So I'm here for all of it.
And there's a mission statement on a page that says, just like, the Image founders, we are prioritizing the artist and understand that the power that comes from uniting with others. So, I mean, I can't disagree with any of that, right? The writers are powerful, but artists bring that stuff to life. So that they're prioritizing the artist. Oh, please, I wish with every, cell in my body that this becomes a success. This and the Remender thing, because who doesn't love new characters by top level creators?
And that's the thing. The majority of this book is the first appearance of these characters you're going to see in the next month. So if you are into that, if you are into collecting first appearances, you got to get Ghost Machine.
Yeah. Just, I don't want to discount Hitch's work, but that spread's really nice. It is very nice, but we've seen work like this from Hitch before. And to say that, he's just doing stuff he's always done, that's not a detriment. That shouldn't be decried. Like, you shouldn't slam the guy for just doing the stuff he's always done. But it looks like so much of the same stuff I've seen before. I don't think he takes chances. I really don't.
He is, and it works for him because it works, but
It's attractive
he's a very
drawing.
formulaic artist.
Yeah, right. The line work is attractive. There's nothing wrong with it. It just seems very. It seems like deja vu. Like I've encountered this stuff before.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he has it in him because early Hitch looks much different than this stuff.
Because early Hitch looks like Alan Davis. But
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, to listen, we started the episode talking about Avengers Twilight, so in your travels might as well be the Ghost Machine.
Nice.
No, I liked Rockefellers more than I expected to.
It's cute, right?
I mean, yeah, it is. It is. The Manipul's art is always nice to
It
see.
had like a Bionic 6 vibe to it a little bit. Like,
Little
they're
bit.
not Bionic, but like the whole family being in on the deal. Like I like that. I like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, and
Grandma.
I clicked with the whole family. Like Grandpa's salty,
Yes.
Grandpa's
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
And they're gamers. They're playing video games against each other.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you know, you're getting teasers. It's basically it's like barely a zero issue of each story. So
Right.
you get a handful of stories to elite. I mean, yes, if you've read Geiger, you understand the concept behind that character.
It's a cool-looking character,
So it's it is a very cool looking character. Tariq is a very cool looking character, and so you know, I'm glad to see that story continuing. You know, I didn't like Jason. I got out of Geiger early. Never read any of the Junkyard Joe stuff, but I read all of the stories here. Exodus absolutely is a banger. It looks stellar. It's a really funky issue between the Ohatmu and just a little taste of what to expect this year from this imprint. I am curious to see Hornsby and Halo did just enough to make me want to know a little bit more about what's going on with the dude in the shadows in the van, and Halo's parents seem to be real pieces of work. So
Yeah.
I really can't let I can't let that go by and just wonder what the resolution is with there. I'll probably be back to check that out. High Street looks absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, I was amused at Redcoat because of what the character has gone through. He's immortal. When he talks about some of the other immortals he's come across, like Benedict Arnold and Davy Crockett,
Einstein.
you know, and it's Davy Crockett, the man's known for conquering the wild frontier, though most have no idea just how wild he was.
Finish it.
Just ask the Sasquatch. There's Annie Oakley and the Northerner, and that's a story that I'm kind of interested to see how that played out. But no, I think everything here is a really, really strong start just based on what they've shown us here. So yeah, I mean, if I'm hoping that it is that there's a copy at the shop when I get there, hopefully this weekend, because it's been a couple of weeks.
Well, there's there's a number of covers to choose from.
Yes, there are.
Yeah. All of these stories were written in a way that made me interested in the characters. Even the Redcoat, I can't front on the stories, but even the Hornsby and Halo, like we know Peter Tomasi can write a damn good story.
Yep, especially involving kids, but yeah,
like involving Superman before the rug was unceremoniously ripped out from underneath him to make way for that other guy. But anyway, so the package of creators in here are really strong, and I think the work is really attractive. So I'm in with one caveat: if the issues are $4.99, I'll wait for the trade.
sure.
And it looks like Geiger's going to be $3.99. If you go to the last
these mock-ups. Well, Red Coat is $4.99.
right, so that's definitely out. But
Rook Exodus is $4.99.
Right, I may buy that in singles. I might wait for the trade on that. Like I said, I'm drawing the line at $4.99. I can't. It's just
sure. No,
it's ridiculous.
It
but we know that the trades are going to be far less per issue than that. So I want to support this line. I will in trade format, but I would really like to in single format. So sure. I'm hoping that they do the Energon Universe thing where the first issue is $4.99 and then subsequent issues are $3.99. Like, that would be sweet.
You're not wrong.
Yes, check out Ghost Machine. It was a lot of fun. It really was. Surprising. I actually emailed Dave at the shop when I saw it was coming out. I'm like, hey, you got any extras of that? Because I'll take one. He's like, oh, we got a lot. But when I got there, he didn't have a lot. So interest was relatively high on this book, which is good. Good to see. Yeah. Oh, nice. I love it when we triple team it in your travels.
Oof.
We should make that a feature.
Oh, God.
Triple Team Travels?
Yes! You just named it. My dude. You're so creative. Check yourself. Everybody, hey, thank you for being here with us one more time. We hope you come back next time because we could not do this without your participation. We love you so much. Go to a comic shop, buy the Ghost Machine or the Savage Dragon or something, and talk about it online. Let's generate some excitement for these books because they're worthy, they're valuable. And then when you're done with that, come to our Facebook page or some kind of social media or our Slack and talk about it even further because you'll get a lot of interplay, hopefully. Say goodnight. Warriors. Come out and play. David.
Good night.
You don't have any cans because you don't drink the beer. Oh, you got Slappy. Wow, that's some jazz shit going on.
David.
Yes, sir.
We love you people. Tell them just what I said.
A lot of love. Especially we're fast approaching Valentine's Day, so make sure you go do something nice for your loved ones.
Okay.
It's like, how dare you?
Vince, that means do something nice for us.
Oh, in a second.
Nice.
How dare you?
Greta.
That's it for that one.